Is there another creature that might stand a chance against him?
My God. Godzilla King of the Monsters is the sequel to Godzilla, and it's directed by Michael Dougherty and it stars Kyle Chandler, Millie Bobby Brown, Vera Farmiga, Thomas Middleditch, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ken Watanabe, and Sally Hawkins and Charles Dance. So it's the sequel. It's set, roughly 5 years after the events of the first Godzilla. It is set also in the same universe as Kong Skull Island, more on that later. And the world is in disarray, like, do we kill Godzilla and the rest of the Titans, or do we keep them alive? And this eco-terrorist group starts waking up other Titans, and they end up waking up King Ghidorah in Antarctica, so they have to go and stop King Ghidorah with Godzilla. A main problem of the original Godzilla was, quite in general, lack of said Godzilla. Like, you rounded up to something like 8 minutes of screen time in a movie that was over 2 hours long, which is a really ridiculous ratio that you have over 2 hours with Aaron Taylor Johnson, which really seemed to drag the movie down. I didn't like it the first time I watched it. On a rewatch, I enjoyed it a lot better. But I do think it is something that needs to be taken care of. And in this movie, there is heaps of Godzilla. There is heaps of the Titans, Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah. There's, like, they said in the trailer, at least 17 others and counting. There is a lot more Titans in the trailers than you might think. And one might ask, why are there so many monsters? Money, money, money! Money! So they have really splashed out on the visual effects, and the Godzilla stuff definitely does go further beyond than 8 minutes. I can tell you there is definitely more than 8 minutes of Godzilla in this film. The CGI for the creatures is also really fantastic. They're all really well done. They look realistic enough as far as gigantic lizard monsters looks as compared to buildings and whatnot. As far as the others, they look all fine. The CGI of, like, green screen outside on a plane looks fine as well, and the CGI plane fights are also good, which really does help make the action set pieces in the film work really well. The big final fight between Godzilla and King Ghidorah are really nice fights, really well shot. The action throughout the film, very well done. Could do with a little bit more action potentially, with, like I said, with, like, humans are gonna fight the Titans as well. They don't really fight the Titans as well. There's not really much that they present as, like, anything they can do. It's like, we can nuke them. No, we can't. Why? But it, in general, just sets up for a really enjoyable movie all the way through. I found it is very fun. The cast across the board is good. Kyle Chandler is solid as the main lead role. He does a fine job. He's nothing that thoroughly interesting of a character. By the end of the film, I'm like, alright, I suppose he's our lead, fine. Vera Farmiga was good. She wasn't mind-blowing, she wasn't fantastic. She just kind of looked at her performance and went, well, she's fine. Millie Bobby Brown, it was good to see her in another role as well, outside of Stranger Things. Great in Stranger Things, very good here as well. Obviously, not her, when comparing the two roles, one's more richer than the other, and she gives a better performance in Stranger Things. Ken Watanabe was okay. There wasn't really a whole lot that he could do. He seemed like a really submissive character for the large part. He only really gets, like, one moment to shine in the end. I don't really feel like that moment really made a large enough impact that it was trying to go for. It made a big impact, but I don't think it got to the 100% that it was going for. And Sally Hawkins is fine as well. She has pretty much nothing to do with all the material she's been given. And that's really unfortunate, considering, like, this would have been, I think this would have been like the next movie after she did Shape of Water, where she was nominated for Oscar in Best Lead Actress, and she's just this character that barely has a character arc as a supporting character that everyone sort of forgot. Thomas Middleditch is fine as well. He's not all that impressive. He honestly has terrible dialogue and sort of sounds like an honest movie trailer. Just sounds like some sort of YouTube character going, fuck the Thomas Middleditch impression. The sound design for overall, I thought it was really awesome, and the score, for the most part, I thought was really terrific as well. As for the cons, I'm pretty sure this is just Star Trek. It got to a point where, like, most of the film's just taking place with them on, like, a plane. So it's just kind of going like, well, they're in mission control, and then they go on the emergency bays, and, they're trying to do space things and save the whales and whatnot. So I guess, it's pretty much Star Trek. The plot is also incredibly paper thin. Like, there's subplots that aren't fully answered or handled with any much grace. There's, like, it starts off with, like, these character stuff in this, like, you know, in congressional hearings where they're talking about, like, you know, you haven't really given us an argument of why they need to be alive still. And there's, you know, but it finds difficult ways to justify the presence of certain characters like Sally Hawkins, like Charles Dance. Like, you don't really need those characters. They don't really achieve much as far as the actual plot goes. The things that they actively do or things that actively happen to them do not affect the plot whatsoever. They're not touched on for even a little bit. It's sort of just like, if you erase that, you could have easily set up a more interesting character, like more interesting character arcs for the others, and made something, you know, you might have leaned some a little bit more way and might have had less redemptive characters in some respects, but in other ways, if you remove the Charles Dance eco-terrorist character, you can easily fill that void with other characters and seeing how their character arcs are fleshed out. Because some of those character motivations that they have, they are unearned and they are flaky. They feel very out of place, and when they happen, it's just kind of like, whoa, you actually wanted that to happen, okay. So it's not really that fantastic. The plot also moves like it's running from place to place, and the pacing really slows a little bit towards the end of the second act, where it just slows down and you're just gonna go like, we get it. You're slowing down. We get it. But I do think that one of the biggest consequences Godzilla King of the Monsters does is that it sort of half-asses a moral argument that it tries to pen off. Sort of, pretty much it does this exact same argument of Avengers Infinity War. It's like, is it better for, like, you know, people to die or no one to die and everyone die eventually? Like, it's really just like a trolley car problem that they don't really try to answer with any moral conviction. They just sort of look at that going, well, maybe this would be nice for you to ponder about. And whilst that's awesome for the audience to ponder about, it's really not an interesting, it's not an interesting plot device, motivation, and it sort of robs the audience of anything of deeper thinking when it comes to the movie. And so it really feels, one, shoehorned in there, whilst somewhat necessary to the plot. It feels like it would have easily been handled a lot better. The ending ultimately feels like it's just some sort of board meeting where they're just shoehorning in some sort of happy ending, because it is a big studio film. Michael, I'm glad you could come. The board and I have made a decision about the script. We think that this moral argument of people dying, or titular characters dying, or cool CGI monsters dying could potentially ruin sequels. So instead of going with a fulfilling movie which could potentially lead to lucrative amounts of money and more sequels, we're going to go for the cheaper option, in which we set up sequels and we don't isolate audiences into feeling sad or lonely, because what movie is going to be so big with a really sad ending? Like, what movie is going to be bigger than the movie with the sad? Like, name a follow-up. The ending also as well really sets up what is a sequel, and that is quite frustrating, to be honest. It's a very frustrating move. So I will say that Godzilla King of the Monsters is an overnight rental. Have you seen Godzilla King of the Monsters? What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel of Platypus, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye. Well done, you made it to the end of the video. Why don't you click on one of these two videos for more content, or subscribe, so just be reminded of when I upload. So, you know, subscribe. That'd be great.